The school auditorium smelled of fresh paint and nervous excitement. Balloons bobbed in the corners, cameras flashed like tiny bursts of lightning, and parents jostled in their seats, eager for the moment their children would cross the stage. For James Carter, a tall, broad-shouldered black man in his mid-50s with a neat military haircut and a calm presence, this was more than a ceremony. This was a victory. His son, his pride, his legacy, was about to graduate. James arrived early wearing his best navy blue blazer, polished shoes, and a crisp white shirt. He clutched his phone, ready to capture the moment his boy walked across the stage. Chest swelled with quiet pride as he thought about the years of sacrifice that had led to this day. But as he made his way down the aisle, weaving through excited families, two school security guards stepped into his path. They were younger men, both white, broad in the chest but narrow in character. Their expressions weren't neutral, they dripped with disdain. "Sir, you can't go down there," one barked. His tone was sharp, like James was already guilty of something. James offered a polite nod. "Just trying to get closer to take a picture of my son." The other guard smirked. "Yeah, right. Back up, old man. You don't belong here." Heads turned. A few nearby parents frowned in confusion, but most quickly looked away. The ceremony was supposed to be a happy event, and no one wanted to get involved. James stopped. His instincts told him this wasn't just about rules. He'd seen those looks before, the kind that sized him up not as a father, but as a threat. He stood silently, his presence calm but unmovable. The first guard took a step closer, lowering his voice but keeping it loud enough for others to hear. "Bet you can't even afford tuition. Probably just here to stir up trouble." The second chuckled. "Should have checked his ticket at the door." Laughter trickled from a row of parents nearby. James's grip tightened on his phone, his knuckles whitening. His son, standing in the lineup on stage, noticed the exchange. His proud smile faltered, confusion crossing his young face. James felt the humiliation cut deep, sharper than any blade. This was supposed to be his son's day. Yet here he was, being treated like a trespasser in a place where he belonged. Still, James didn't react. His training, years of discipline etched into his bones, kept him steady. He let the insults pile, up like bricks in a fragile wall, knowing walls like these always fall. The guards, mistaking his silence for weakness, smirked wider. They thought they had put him in his place, but they had no idea who they were mocking. James Carter had lived, a life most men in that room couldn't imagine. Born and raised in Detroit, James learned early what it meant to fight for survival. His mother worked 2 jobs, his father gone before James could walk. By 18, James was already carrying the weight of responsibility, not just for himself, but for younger siblings who looked to him as protector. The Marines became his escape and his salvation. He enlisted straight out of high school, carving a career through deserts, jungles, and oceans. His body bore the scars of battles fought, and his eyes carried the weight of brothers lost. He was respected, decorated, and hardened, but also softened by the lessons of service, loyalty, courage, humility. After 2 decades of deployments, James retired. He chose to live quietly, taking a steady job, pouring his energy into raising his only son, Marcus. The boy had been his anchor, his reason to keep going through nights when the ghosts of war clawed at his mind. Graduation day was not just Marcus's achievement, it was theirs. Every sleepless night, every double shift, every dollar saved, had been for this moment. James wasn't here as a Marine, he was here as a father, yet that was the part these guards couldn't see. From the moment James entered the building, he noticed the sidelong glances. Parents dressed in fine clothes whispered when he walked past, eyes darting to his dark skin, his broad shoulders, his plain navy blazer that looked modest compared to their tailored suits and glittering dresses. One mother leaned toward another, her voice sharp but hushed. "Does he even belong here?" James pretended not to hear. He'd endured worse in his lifetime. But when the guards stepped in, blocking him with smirks plastered on their faces, he felt the old weight of discrimination settle on his chest again. The humiliation wasn't just his to bear. His son could see it all. Every insult, every shove, every sneer. Marcus had grown up admiring his father's discipline and strength, but now he was watching the man he respected most be treated like dirt, like he didn't belong. And that cut deeper than any wound James had ever taken in combat. Still, he stayed calm, because discipline had been drilled into him like second nature. You wait, you endure, and when the moment comes, you strike with precision. The guards didn't know it yet, but they were building their own downfall. The ceremony pressed on. Names were called, applause thundered, and families beamed with pride. But in James's corner, the tension grew thicker. When he rose to move closer again, one guard deliberately stepped into his path. His elbow brushed hard against James's ribs. James's phone slipped from his hand, clattering to the polished wooden floor. "Oops," the guard drawled, smirking. "Watch yourself, old man." The sound echoed, drawing a few chuckles from parents nearby. Some shook their heads, muttering about troublemakers. A father in the row behind whispered just loud enough, "Probably snuck in." James bent down, slowly retrieving his phone. His hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from restraint. His son's eyes, locked on him from the stage lineup, glistened with fury and shame. The second guard leaned closer, his voice dripping venom. "You don't belong up front. Sit down before we escort you out. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." James straightened to his full height, towering over both men. For a moment, silence fell between them. The guards blinked, caught, off guard by the sheer calm authority in his eyes. But then their smirks returned. They thought silence meant surrender. The ceremony rolled on. A mother in the row ahead tapped her husband, whispering, "He shouldn't be here." The husband nodded, glancing back at James like he was intruding on their polished world. The sting of their words was sharp, but what cut deeper was the way. Marcus shifted on stage, biting his lip, fists clenched at his sides. His proud day was being tarnished by the spectacle unfolding in the audience. When Marcus's row finally rose to approach the stage, James instinctively stepped forward again, raising his phone to capture the moment. The guards moved instantly, spreading their arms wide, blocking his path. "Not you," one hissed. "Stay back. This isn't your moment." The other shoved James lightly in the chest, enough to make the crowd gasp. Parents leaned away, murmuring. A student on stage whispered to another, "Is that guy causing trouble?" Marcus froze mid-step, torn between walking forward to claim his diploma and rushing to defend his father. His chest rose and fell rapidly, torn between pride and anger. The humiliation was complete. A father mocked, a son shamed, a crowd complicit, in silence. For one heartbeat, the entire auditorium was suspended in cruel tension. Then the double doors at the back of the auditorium swung open. 6 men marched in, their dress uniforms gleaming under the stage lights, medals catching every flicker of brilliance. The rhythmic sound of their boots echoed like thunder in the suddenly quiet hall. The announcer's voice, trembling with shock, rang out over the microphone. "Please welcome today's honorary guests, former United States Navy SEALs, here to celebrate our graduates." Every head turned, every whisper died, and at the head of the group was James. The crowd erupted in murmurs. Cameras whipped out. Students craned their necks to see. The guards, stunned, stumbled back as the SEALs walked directly toward James. The men saluted him in perfect unison, their faces solemn with respect. One clapped his shoulder firmly, his voice ringing clear. Across the stunned hall, "Always good to see you again, brother." Gasps rippled through the audience. Parents exchanged shocked glances. The man they had mocked, shoved, and dismissed was no old dad. He was a decorated Marine veteran, A man respected by some of the most elite warriors in the country. The guards' smug grins collapsed into pale terror. Their arrogance evaporated as whispers filled the air. Wait, he's military. They mocked him. Oh my God. James finally spoke, his voice steady, carrying through the hall with a weight that silenced every whisper. I came. Here today not as a Marine, he said, his eyes sweeping the crowd, but as a father. My only mission was to clap for my son, to honor his hard work. But some people couldn't see past my skin to the man I am. They tried to shame me in front of my son. The auditorium was so still you could hear the hum of the stage lights. Parents shifted uncomfortably, shame crawling up their spines. Students whispered to one another, some with tears in their eyes. James turned slightly, gesturing toward Marcus, who stood frozen on stage, diploma shaking in his hands. This moment belongs to him, and no one, no prejudice, no ignorance, no arrogance will ever take it from him. His son broke then, tears spilling as he rushed into his father's arms. The audience, once silent accomplices, now erupted into thunderous applause. The principal stumbled forward, stammering apologies. The guards shrank into the shadows, whispers of "fire them," echoing across the hall. James stood tall, his son by his side, seals flanking him like a wall of truth. The ceremony ended not with embarrassment, but with triumph. The applause that shook the auditorium was no longer just for the graduates. It was for dignity, for truth, for the breaking of fragile walls built on prejudice. The guards who had mocked James were escorted out, pale and humiliated, their careers crumbling in real time. The same parents who had laughed at the insults now whispered apologies, unable to meet James's eyes. Marcus, diploma clutched tightly, hugged his father with trembling arms. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Dad, you're my hero. Always. Have been." James's voice was soft but steady. "No, son, I'm proud of you. Today is your victory, and I'll never let anyone take your light." The seals remained by his side, a wall of respect stronger than any insult, louder than any sneer. Their presence told a story without words. Brotherhood, honor, truth. In that moment, the entire room saw the fragility of racism, how quickly it collapses when the truth steps forward. James had endured the humiliation silently, but the reveal reminded everyone. Assumptions are weak walls. Truth and dignity will always break through. Racism always builds a fragile house, and one moment of truth, one father's dignity, can bring the whole structure crashing down. If you believe respect is earned by character, not color, share this story. Hit like and subscribe to remind the world. Dignity always wins.